Hey guys, Darian Ville, Exit Realty. I am here at one of our 4 offices located across the Chicagoland area. Today I'm actually at our Skokie office, 4106 Oakton Street. And I am here with Arthur Blockno tell me what this company again?
Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Fairway Independent Mortgage. And we're going to be discussing a fantastic program that is can put you as a buyer, can put you in a really good position, move that offer to the top of the pile. If you're in a situation with competing offers, with something called the cash guarantee. I would do a very poor job of explaining it, so that's why I'm here with Arthur to let him explain it in detail. So I'll let you take it away.
Darren, thank you very much for having me. And yes, you are exactly correct. The program is called the Cash Guarantee Program. And as many of you have experienced personally or with your clients, we are in a tough market. It is a cutthroat market, multiple offer situations, and many times an offer that has a low or lower down payment may get brushed to the side for an offer that is slightly higher down payment. So our wonderful owner came up with a program, again called the Cash Guarantee, that will back the home buyer with Fairway's cash. And essentially what this program does is allows the buyer and their agent to write a cash offer with the option to finance, so that you're not showing your full deck of cards, specifically the financing terms that may make or break that accepted offer, right? So it's a creative solution to a tough program or a tough market that we're in currently, and it literally just gives the buyer that extra edge to win in a multiple offer situation.
Okay. And so when you say the cash guarantee, obviously I know what it sounds like, I know what it appears to be, but so I'm a buyer, I come to you, or I'm an agent, obviously I bring you a buyer, say, hey, we have our eyes on this property, or you know, Jane Joe here is looking to buy 123 Main Street. She needs a pre-approval. From there, the steps are.
The steps are very similar to a regular pre-approval, but I take it one step further. So I do the initial application, credit, income, asset review, and deem this buyer, not worthy, but fits into the box or the mold for this particular program. It meets, or it falls in line with conventional, FHA, VA, and jumbo guidelines up to $1 million. But let's just assume we have a standard 3% down buyer conventional. What I would do is first issue a standard pre-approval, just to let you guys know you're good to go.
Okay.
Then I would take that loan package, disclose to the client on a to be determined property. We would go through some of the basics or some general outlines for price, location, taxes, things like that. But I would submit that then to the underwriter for review.
Okay.
Make sure that they meet conventional guidelines. Assuming they pass that, which I do the kind of a pre-underwrite first and give that to the underwriter to stamp the approval on it. We will then take it to our legal department and say, hey, this buyer meets the criteria for the cash guarantee program, at which point we would issue a cash guarantee addendum. This takes about 7 to 10 business days because there's a few extra steps along the way. But what that now gives you the ability to do is write that offer with cash and the option to finance, where you're not showing typical funds or verification of funds like on a regular cash deal. You have an addendum that backs up Fairway's cash. Now, with that said, our intent is not to buy that home cash. In turn, we'll do everything in our power to close that transaction with Fairway's financing. So on the back end, we're still doing the mortgage as we would normally. Mm-hmm. We're just saying, in the event something would fall apart with the buyer, let's say they messed up their credit score, bought a car, lost their job, we would then step in and buy that home cash. But assuming that doesn't happen, we're still going to do the loan on the back end, just like any other loan, and get that buyer to the closing table as quickly, as efficiently as we can. We just want them to get that house, get that offer accepted, and then the rest is done on the back end, financing, typical financing.
So it sounds like maybe it's kind of, well, not underwritten, but that's pretty much what it is.
It is both, yes. It's a thorough underwrite along with the backing of Fairway's cash to give the buyer the edge.
Right, and so in case you're wondering, in case you're, never bought, in case you're wondering how that works, or maybe if you're a potential seller, wondering how that works, essentially, what Arthur's saying is, they have pre-approved this, they pre-approved the buyer, buyers kind of pass all the checks and balances to say, hey, we feel as if this is a good candidate, we can close, like this loan will 100% close, but in the event something goes sideways, loss of income, loss of job, I mean, we've seen it happen, we know that sort of thing happens. What happens is then Fairway says, okay, something went sideways with the buyer, but Fairway will still then purchase the home.
Correct.
So that's kind of a safety net for the seller in essence. Like, so the seller can still seller still gets the home sold, but obviously Fairway doesn't want the property.
Correct.
So what does Fairway do in that instance?
So yes, great question. So in the event where something goes south with the buyer and Fairway has to step in now, buy the home cash, we will do one of two things we have two options for the seller. The first option is break the contract for a $10,000 check, no questions asked. Seller gets to relist that property and collects a check from Fairway for $10,000. Option two is we buy that home for cash at either the contract price or the appraised value, if we need an appraisal, depending. Some deals don't need an appraisal, some do. But if there's an appraisal in play, we will buy the home for either the contract price or the appraised value, whichever is lower. And then now the home is in our possession, assuming we bought this home cash, and we will then turn back to the original buyer and see if we can get them back on track to buy that property from us. So for example, let's say they lost their job. Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, did you find a new job? Can you requalify for this loan to buy a home? If that's the case, we will sell that property to the buyer, that original buyer, and get them in that home. Now, in the event the buyer is not able to obtain financing, or let's say they were injured and it's a permanent disability and they can't work, right? Which can happen. In this case, what we're going to do is go back to the original buyer agent. So let's say in this case, Darren, you're the agent. We're going to ask Darren to list this property, sell it, and get it off our books. We don't want to be property owners. We don't want to be property managers. We just want our investment, our cash that we purchased this home with back.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, that's impressive. So yeah, so sounds like there's a lot of built-in cushion. And then, I mean, listen, as a buyer's agent, I think not every buyer's agent, but I know there's a lot of buyer's agents who have kind of been down that road of getting close to the finish line, and then for whatever reason, right, it doesn't happen. Right, you're under contract for a couple of months and several weeks, and then for whatever reason, right, it doesn't happen. So that's definitely good. So like, there's a built-in cushion for buyer's agent, built-in cushion for the seller also. And then it's extremely advantageous to the actual buyer themselves with everything that's in place.
Correct. It's basically like an insurance policy to make sure that deal is going to the closing table one way or another. So, and there's no cost, obligation, or anything extra other than the time it takes us to put the buyer through the program process, right? And once it's completed, it's just a whole nother level of game, right? Because the real estate is a game, right? It's a negotiation game, right? So just a whole nother level of game that we're bringing to the closing table for the buy side team that also has positive effects for everybody involved in the transaction.
Gotcha. And so, is this program, is it only good for single family homes? Can it be used on multi-unit buildings as well?
Great question. Single family homes, so single family detached, townhomes, condominiums, no 2 to 4 unit properties.
No to the 4-unit property. Okay, gotcha.
The reason for that is there's a couple of things that we don't control in that situation. For example, maybe the actual rental income that we're using to qualify that person from those other units, maybe for this particular property, it's not enough, right? So it's a variable that we can't control.
Right.
Exactly. But if it's a single family home, primary, secondary, or even an investment property, and they've got their down payment and closing costs, so no grant programs or anything like that. Again, another variable that we can't control.
Okay.
We will back that buyer with our cash. Again, single family detached, townhome, condo for primary, secondary, or investment home.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So it has no down payment assistance.
No down payment assistance.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's a big one. Okay.
And I'll explain the reason. We're all familiar with one of the major down payment assistance options in Illinois, IDA, right? At any point of the year, IDA can say the funds have ran out.
Yeah,
We have exhausted all these
Money
funds.
runs out.
So if that happens in the middle of the transaction,
Right.
that buyer no longer qualifies. Now we're stuck buying a home on a program that we didn't have control over. So
Exactly.
there are, as long as it's within our control, we will honor that approval. If it's something that is outside of our control, that's where kind of the comfort level is not there, because we cannot guarantee that program will be available come closing.
Gotcha. And so, last thing is, so you mentioned the cash addendum. So it's the initial pre-approval, the 7 to 10 days, and you issue the cash addendum, and then that cash addendum goes to you issue that to the buyer, or are we submitting that with our offer?
It goes both to the buyer, and I also copy the agent on it, so that when you make that offer, you're attaching it to that offer. It's a simple 2-page addendum that just explains the program, the options between the $10,000 check to walk away from the deal or purchasing it cash, which will then give you guys, the buy-side team, the ability to write that contract as cash with option of finance versus financing disclosed.
Yeah, cash. Because on the contract, it's either loan contingency, cash no mortgage allowed, or cash with mortgage allowed. So so cash with mortgage allowed. Yeah. Anytime you see cash, anytime you as a seller you see cash on an offer, I mean it kind of makes your spidey senses tingle a little bit.
100%. That's the offer most sellers will probably lean towards, or they're gonna, this one looks much better than 10 or 5% down.
Right. I mean, and even as a listing agent, if I'm a listing agent and we're going through multiple offers, and I see cash checked, I'm immediately saying, hey, wait a minute, we're moving that one to the we have the maybe pile, the I don't think so pile, and then we have the okay, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, due diligence, I have to present I have to present every single offer, but when I'm discussing those offers with my client, I'm saying, hey, this is a cash offer. This is something we definitely want to consider, because obviously with loan contingencies, it's a contingency, right?
Right.
Any one of the scenarios you just mentioned can
Correct.
happen, and now we're kind of back to the drawing board, as opposed with this scenario right here. The transaction is allowed to move forward and get to the closing table.
Agreed. I think again, the whole point of this is to give the buyer side team the edge when there's multiple offers on the table, right?
Gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. So do me a favor, tell everyone how they can reach you.
Again, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, Arthur Blocknell, phone number 847-912-6580. That's my cell phone number. There's no other number. That's the only one I got. And email address, ajb@fairwaymc.com.
Right, and I will be sure to have Arthur's contact information, and any other relevant information will be at the bottom of this video. All right, Arthur, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Of course, this is great. Thank you.
All right, if you guys got any questions, you can always contact me directly. Like I said, Arthur's information will be underneath the video. You can reach out to him as well. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Thank you.